Okay, welcome back to another Unity tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be focusing on getting the interactions set up for our VR game. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. I'm still using the My First VR project from the first tutorial that we did. So go ahead and get that opened back up. And then we're going to go ahead and start with updating some packages. So once you've got the game loaded back up, we're going to come up to, I think it's Window, and then we're going to go to Package Manager. And then inside of Package Manager, what we want to do now is we want to switch. Usually it's set to like in my project. You want to switch your package thing setting to Unity Registry. And then inside that, we're going to go ahead and type in XR interaction. And you can see that the XR interaction toolkit comes up. We're going to select that, and then we're going to go ahead and hit install. And this will take maybe about a minute or so to go through the installation process as it downloads the various samples and things that we're going to be pulling from. Um, this XR interaction toolkit has a bunch of like pre-built things that'll help speed up our development so that we're not having to build everything completely from scratch. So this will really help as you go forward building projects to just sort of streamline things. And once you've got it built once, a lot of times what you can do is just simply use the same game project and then just update the scene. So you can just create a new scene and then you can then copy over the interaction setup that you've already built. So once you build this once, it's pretty reusable. You just have to make sure that for each project that you're building that you just have these packages re-downloaded and installed. All right, so let's take a pause right here while this loads. Okay, now that that's installed, what we will be building is something called an XR rig. And you can think of the XR rig essentially like the player in your game. So it's gonna sort of embody the various elements of your player in terms of their head, their hands, their eyes, their controllers, all that good stuff. So that's what we're gonna be doing next. Okay, so let's go ahead and close out of our package manager. Okay, so to get started building our XR rig, the first thing we actually need to do is to delete the main camera. All right, so come in here and right click on that and go ahead and delete it. Might start freaking out, but don't worry, we're going to end up replacing that. So right click again, and this time we are going to come down to XR and we are going to place an XR origin into our scene. And just like that, we now have a headset camera. All right, and we can go ahead and just leave it there at the origin. And as we continue to build out the rig, you'll see that um, it'll automatically adjust to like your headset's position when you play the game. So in order to get it to just automatically adjust to the headset position, what we're going to do is we're going to specify the tracking origin mode, and we're going to set that to device. So actually, just one quick correction. We actually want to set this to floor. I got those mixed up. So the floor will use the information from your Guardian system where you set the ground floor position when you were setting that up, and then it will use this, excuse me, as the reference point for the position of the headset, so that when you actually turn the headset on and begin playing the game, that it'll use the current position of the headset. So let's go ahead and hit play, and hopefully this is going to work. right, so we're going to hit play, and it's going to take just a second for it to load up. But now you can see that, everything works. So our camera and headset are tracking, and if I bring it all the way down to the floor, you can see that the headset is in line with the floor position. So no matter what height you are, you'll be seeing it from your perspective. Okay, so now that we've got that set up, the next thing that we need to do is to create something for the hand controllers. So we're going to come over to our camera offset, and we are going to right click on that, and we're going to create what's called an empty game object. So we're going to hit create empty, and we're going to rename that left hand, and then we're going to add a component, and we're going to type XR interaction. I think it's XR interaction. Um, Correction, it's XR controller, and we're going to do XR controller action based. And that obviously creates a whole mess of different settings that we're going to need to play with. And let's go ahead and repeat that process and go ahead and create an empty game object, and we'll call that right hand. And then we're going to add the component XR controller action based. And let's go ahead and look at some of these settings here. So got the update tracking before and render. So that's just like what our headset's doing. We're input tracking. All right. And is there anything else in here that we need to mess with at the moment? Nope. All right. So we'll come back to these settings as we go along. And let's see here. Okay, so in order to make our life a bit easier and to speed things along, what we're going to do next is we're going to go back to our package manager, and we are going to come back into this interaction toolkit, and you're going to click on samples. And what we want to do is we want to download this starter assets. So go ahead and import that, and that should be pretty quick. So let's see here. And let's see, let's come back in here. I think that is, let's see. There we go. Yep, so if you come back in and we look under Interaction Toolkit, and then we expand the 2.0.3, and then we click on Starter Assets, you can see there are a bunch of different sort of settings profiles already loaded in, and we're going to take advantage of these to help us configure our left and right hands. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at what packages are in here. So you can see there is a continuous move preset. There is a continuous turn preset. Looks like that this is some import settings. And here we go. We've got the default left controller preset. And we've got a default right controller preset. And it looks like we also have a preset for snap turning. So the left and right presets are the things that we're going to be using today. Okay, so in order to use these presets, what we're going to do is we're going to come back over to our left hand object, and then we're going to click on the little, what looks like a settings icon right here. And then we're going to find the left controller default setting. And then go ahead and close that. And now you can see that all of our controller settings have been automatically set up for us. So that's convenient. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the right controller. All right, and just make sure that you are selecting the correct one. So you should see it update in here. Clearly says right. If you accidentally choose the same one for both, the game will freak out a little bit and you'll get some weird behavior. So make sure that you are associating the left hand with the left hand and the right hand with the right hand. Okay, so in order for all of this to work, what we need to do now is we need to go back to our XR origin and we need to basically enable those interaction presets by adding a new component to our XR origin. And we're going to add an input action manager. Cool. All right. That should be good. And now what we're going to do is we need to adjust this action assets. You can see right now that the list is empty. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this interaction like default item, this input actions, and we're going to drag that into our list. All right. And so now that that's there, that should enable our input actions so that the system knows to use those hand controller inputs. Okay, so now in order to really see whether or not our hand controllers are working, we really want to go ahead um, and add something visual to the scene so to represent our hands. So for right now, let's go ahead and right click on the left hand controller and let's add a 3D game object and let's just add a cube. And let's set the scale of that cube to 0.25, 5, and 0.25. And let's do the same thing on the right hand. Set the scale to 0.25, 0.25, and 0.25. Cool. All right, so if this is working, then we should be able to play the game and put on our headset, and when we grab the controllers, the cube should follow our hands. Oh, there we go. So we got one working. Cool. Can move that around. All right, let's go ahead and grab the other controller, make sure it's turning on. All right, so now I've got both controllers in here. Sorry, I'm trying to do all of this at the same time. It's wiring my headset. So here's the left controller. You can see it's mapping the rotations. All right, you can see the right controller. It's mapping the rotations. And cool. So we've got interactions working. So that's great. All right, so let's continue. Okay, so just because I want to try and be a little fancier, let's go ahead and take a look at seeing about getting the actual Oculus controller art. So if you go to developer.oculus.com, downloads package, Oculus controller art, we can actually download um, the models of the left and right hand controllers and the materials that go along with them. All right, so let's go ahead and download that. And then go show in folder. Go ahead and extract all of those. Cool. And what we're looking for is the Oculus Touch for Quest 2. All right. And let's see here. I think what we need, let's go ahead and minimize this, so let's go ahead and grab these items here. And we are going to drag them into our asset folder. Oops. All right, so right now we have a folder for scenes, we have folder settings, XR. Let's go ahead and create a folder in here real quick. Create a folder and we'll just call it models. Okay, and then open that and then come back over here and let's go ahead and drag these items in. And so what we should see when we drag these models in our, there we go. Looks like we've got the different hand controllers. Now let's see, is this one 0, 1, and 2? All right, well, let's just drag this into our scene and see what it looks like. So let's drag it over here onto our left hand, and we'll go ahead and delete that cube. Let's delete the cube for the right hand as well. All right, and so let's not use that one. Let's delete that. Let's use this one. Okay, this one. Yeah, one of these is probably your left hand controller, and one is probably the right hand. So let's try one as the left hand, and let's try two as the right hand, and let's just see what happens. Oh, interesting. Somehow these models are like fused together. That's a interesting choice. All right, well, perhaps we'll have to try that again another day, but you can see that the models are in fact being brought into our game, which is cool. So I'll figure out how we can separate them into the left and right hand so that you can use those as your models inside your game. All right, so let's try this again. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and delete these. Oh, make sure you're not playing. All right, so let's delete those. And then let's come back over here. And what we're gonna do is this is the like highest visual fidelity one. Let's click on that little arrow like that. And then what we can do is, let's see here, this is the mesh. Here we go. So what we want to do is we want to drag just this right Quest controller into the right hand. I think that should do it. Maybe not. Hold on. Um, yeah, here we go. So I think we can go ahead and just delete. Okay, so that's what we want to do. All right, so we're going to come in here and we are going to unpack this. Oh, just a minute here. Okay, let's try this. All right, so we've added this to the right hand controller. Now what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this. We're going to come down to prefab. We're going to say unpack completely. And now we will take these models, the left controller world and left controller mesh, and we're going to drag those to the left hand. And we are going to take the right controller and mesh and drag that back up into the right hand, and then we can just delete um, that little model there. So this should let us use the controllers separately now. So let's give that a try. Go ahead and hit build. Okay, and let's put our headset back on. And now it should be showing. Hold on, just give it a second here. my headset may have gone to sleep. Let's try this here. Okay, so after a little bit of troubleshooting here, I did figure out how to do this. So like I was showing you, you're going to go ahead and you're going to drag this object into the right hand. You're going to right click on prefab. You're going to unpack it. And then once you've unpacked it, the left and right controller items are available. You can select these and drag them to the individual components that they're associated with. I already did that, so I'm going to delete that. And now when I press play, we'll be able to see the hand controllers inside of our game. All right, so there you go. Now you've got the hand controller inside of there. And you can see that it's tracking and following around. And now we can use that as part of our interaction suite in the game. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in later lectures and tutorials. But you can see now that the models are actually working. So I'll put that one down. I'll pick up the left one. Left one works. You know, things like the button presses and stuff don't show anything. There's probably additional steps we could do to animate and do some other cool things with that, but that would be for a later time. So now we should have basically all of the, you know, essential building blocks that we need to get started here. Let's Yeah, super curious what this is going to do, but we will see. This is my controller. Don't know that it loves that, but let's do... Let's just build and run it. Okay, so I think I got it figured out in terms of how we can be a little fancier here. So like I showed before, we were downloading this Oculus Twitch controller stuff. We pulled in these different models, we separated them, we added them to the controllers, and now we want to build a texture so that the controllers actually look like what's in our hand. So we're going to come back into that folder. You're going to find these textures, and you're going to take all three of these, and you're going to drag them into your models folder. And they should show up looking like this, this, and this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to right click and we are going to create a new material. Okay. Actually, let's delete this one. Let's delete this one. Oh, no, cancel. I don't want to delete that. All right, so cool. This new material should be fine. Okay. Actually, we'll just do it from scratch. All right, so we're going to create a new material. Let's name this controller. All right, and now what we're going to do is we are going to take this item and we're going to add it to the base map. We're going to take this item and add it to the metallic. And then we're going to take this and add it to the height map and the occlusion map. Let's see what happens when you do the normals map as well. And we can try it out on the cube. That doesn't look right. So let's go ahead and put that back to none. Ah, yeah, that's looking a lot closer. Cool. All right. So now that we've created this material, we're going to drag this material up onto our right controller mesh. We're going to drag this material up onto our left controller mesh. And now when we hit play inside of our application, we should be seeing the controllers looking like what they should. So you can see that they've got the button names mapped correctly. They've got the little Oculus logos. They kind of are lit up and shadowed. Same thing with this one. You can see it says X and Y. You can see that the shadow kind of forms on that little ring across the face. You can see things are a little bit metallic on the surface and more matte finish on the controller itself. So there you go. So now that we have the controllers mapped and everything like that, that's pretty much the starting point for any VR game. We can look at adding in maybe the hand pose and other things in a later tutorial. Yeah, so now we have a basic VR build setup. and you can begin exploring how to use that in your projects.